Joining us now, Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, writer at large for The Bulwark, Tim Miller, and former White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs. Susan, Ramaswamy is also defending himself after he compared Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley to the KKK in a way. Can he handle the scrutiny of a national campaign?
Well, we're about to find out. He has succeeded in becoming the center of attention. He was the guy the other debaters wanted to beat up on at the first Republican debate. He's now getting the kind of scrutiny you get when you begin to get a little traction, you rise a bit in the polls. And that has included scrutiny of when he has changed positions on things like January 6th. His book that was published, he called that a horrid event. He said that Trump was a loser. Now in this debate, he said Trump was the greatest president of the 21st century. These are questions, including those on race, that he is now going to have to answer, Andrea.
You know, and we have some more results, Robert Gibbs, from that DMR, the NBC News Des Moines Register poll. It's also with Mediacom, finding fewer than half of Iowa Republican caucus goers describe themselves as MAGA Republicans. About 1 in 4 say that they're anti-Trump. So where in Iowa do you perhaps see a path forward for someone to cut into Trump's lead?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to, in some ways, take that other than sort of MAGA Republicans. Some of that is not going to be Trump voters necessarily. They may be tired of this, but you're going to have somebody on the other side that coalesces all of those non-Trump voters, which, you know, if the polling is correct at 42%, means there's 58% in the pool of voters that aren't voting for Trump, right? I will say, as it relates to what we were just talking about with some of these answers, both on the debate stage and in interviews, pardon me for being reminded a bit of Donald Trump in 2015 and 2016. I am not sure that the scrutiny of a national political campaign, given who's going to do the scrutinizing and the Republican caucus goers are going to pay all that much attention to it. Donald Trump spent 2 years telling us that he was going to build a wall and that Mexico was going to pay for it. Everybody said that's outlandish, and yet everybody cheered at those rallies because of it. So I think Vivek feels to me like a younger version of Donald Trump. It will be interesting to see whether his opponents press him in a way that I don't think fact checks are going to be all that effective at doing.
Yeah, it does seem that that's what he's modeling himself after. Indeed, the Trump performance on the stage. Tim, here's how a New Hampshire voter took Senator Tim Scott to task and how Tim Scott responded, because he's an elected official, and this surprised some about the do's and the don'ts of retail politics.
You don't stand up to Trump. How are you going to stand up to the president of Russia and China?
Yeah, I think the truth is that it's not standing up to Trump. The truth is that
you're avoiding standing up for his past, but you don't have. Yeah, you don't want to lose all his votes. I get you.
And the premise of the question is, why don't you stand up to Trump? You're just wrong, but I don't. That's
I've never heard you. I didn't hear you the other night stand up and say, I can't accept him as president.
Do you want to have a conversation, or do you want to have a monologue? So I'm happy to listen, but if you want to have a dialogue, I'll be speaking as well.
So what did that moment reveal to you?
Those New Hampshire diners can come up and bite you. They're not as easy as it looks, I guess. Look, Tim Scott, I think, got upset because the voter was getting at something that at some level he knows to be true about himself, which is that he's pulling punches about Donald Trump. And, you know, he can list off the 2 or 3 times that he criticized Trump over the last 8 years. But he's running a campaign for president against Trump. He's losing by about 50 points right now. And, you know, he didn't mention Donald Trump by name on the debate stage and said that he'd vote for him even if he was convicted for president. So, you know, you have this fine line, and nobody's figured out how to do it. This is why Trump persists, right? It's very challenging. You see the Ramaswamy trying to do the Trump imitation. You know, you see DeSantis kind of veering back and forth. Tim Scott's tried to ignore him. Chris Christie's tried to attack him. it's tough. It's a very narrow read with Republican voters to what Robert was talking about, where you need to be able to get the ones that don't like Trump, that 20% in the poll, but you also, to get up to a majority, need to get some of the voters that do like Trump. And so it puts people between these candidates between a rock and a hard place. And I think we're seeing on the campaign trail that none of them seem to be talented enough to be able to kind of walk that fine line.
And Susan, I want to take you to Virginia. Virginia politics. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is now reportedly plotting a 15-week abortion ban if Republicans in his state win control of the Virginia General Assembly in November. It's very tight there. And do you see this as something that would help him or hurt him if he, as a lot of donors are telling us, want him to get into the race late despite the early filing deadlines?
Yeah, a lot of interest among donors, and reportedly, including Rupert Murdoch, according to the Washington Post, in getting Governor Youngkin into the race. I think this is this is his effort to take what he will portray as a more moderate position on abortion, much more moderate 6-week abortion ban that Governor DeSantis signed. For instance, he supported a 15-week ban before the Democratic-controlled Assembly wouldn't pass it. So he's trying to set up things for his legislative agenda going forward. He says that's one reason he's waiting until the state legislative elections in November before he decides whether to jump into this presidential race, Andrea.